and the felines within my sanctuary. The mauve curtains were pulled away from the window, gathered with golden cord, and allowing the bright noon sun to pour into the room and warm the space. I tucked the letter in the top drawer of my writing table to be enjoyed later. Rosalind swept into the room, her protruding belly not hampering in any way her ability to sashay with the greatest dignity and poise. "Good day, darling," she purred. I swallowed a chuckle as she settled herself into the deep plum-padded chair, arranging her skirts over her knees and then training her dark brown gaze on me. I found, as I often did in Rosalind's presence, that I was certain I was doing something very wrong when she looked at me in such a manner. Logically, I was aware I was not breaking any etiquette or committing a social faux pas, but her piercing gaze had the ability to make me question my every move regardless. "You are in a family way," I confirmed, unsure of whether I was meant to know that already or not. It was hard to keep track with Rosalind. "Yes, this will make 5, she answered nonchalantly, waving her hand in disregard. She had the bearing of a countess and wore her title in the set of her shoulders and lift of her chin since marrying Lord MacGregor. "Or 6, if the pattern of twins is to be continued. The children have been begging for a visit from Aunt Freya, but I told them you are far too dull to travel." I shrugged. It was perhaps not my favourite thing to travel the length of England, simply to stay in Rosalind's draughty castle with her brood of noisy children. Boys, all of them. A cat-like smile tipped her lips, but I told Jack to leave it to me. I would bring you and the children together one way or another. Apprehension filtered into my stomach. Rosalind typically did not make threats she was incapable of upholding. She was the one who instigated the sisterhood of deserving females in our school days and convinced Elsie and me to agree to never marry, thus giving our power over to another man. She could be very persuasive when she felt so inclined. I was probably the most hesitant at the delicate age of 12 to agree to such a dramatic scheme, yet I was the only one of the 3 of us who remained unwed, a fact unlikely to ever change. Brushing aside memories of our past, I delivered a bright smile. "Has Lord MacGregor travelled with you to town?" "Yes, of course. The whole lot of them came." "Then it would seem unnecessary for me to visit you at the castle anyway." I offered her an impish grin. "That must have been a lively trip." She had been blessed with 2 sets of twins, and they were just over a year apart. I imagined the carriage ride across England with Rosalind sitting in the very centre and her 4 boys climbing about like cheerful little monkeys. She was poised in the centre of it all, naturally. Rosalind cast her gaze up, chuckling. "I assure you, I cannot endure it again any time soon. We shall be here for quite some time." "And the baby?" Her hand moved to her rounded midsection, as though subconsciously checking her child. Her dark eyes glazed over, and she spoke softly. "There are plenty of fine doctors in London." Perkins held the door open while the maid carried in the tea service and set it on the table before me. She scurried back out the door, and it closed behind her with a thunk. I began preparing the tea and passed a steaming cup to Rosalind. "How are the cards?" she prodded, eyeing me from over the top of her teacup, her dark eyebrow raised in question. I speared her with a wry look. "Everywhere." "You do know," she began slowly, "you are not required to keep them any longer, now that Georgina—" The room fell quiet, and I picked up a slice of shortbread, taking a bite and chewing the rich buttery treat slowly while I formed my words. It was perhaps difficult for her to comprehend, and I was unsure if I even needed to explain myself to her. She was, however, one of my very dearest friends. I was sure she simply wanted to understand. "It has been 6 months since Aunt Georgina's death, yes, and I have put off mourning clothes." I plucked at my green skirt, as if that solidified my point. I had remained in black far longer than was necessary. "But I cannot so easily put off those wretched curts. This is her home, after all, and she adored the beastly thing.